Hello everyone, this is Bryce K. Nielsen. I'm talking to you today on the topic Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, his book about financial education, helped me accept the need for a better mindset. This is a book I read many years ago. It first came out in 1997. I'm not sure exactly when I encountered it. But he also published a board game called Cashflow 101, and I know I was playing this game with some cousins who owned it. That was probably around 2006, 2007. Anyway, from the book, there were some principles that I learned from him about differences between how rich people think about money and how poor people think about money. And a lot of these ideas were reinforced by the board game. Lately, I've been studying a lot about mindset from a man named Bob Proctor. One of the principles in the mindset is reframing questions. And I first heard that concept from Robert Kiyosaki's book. He says, saying that you can't do something, that shuts off your brain. It stops you from. It's a choice to stop thinking about a problem and just assume defeat. And reframing it and saying, how can I do it? Turns your brain on and engages the creative side of your brain and helps you start thinking about ways to solve the problem. Robert also talks about the need for financial education. A lot of people think that some of his asset strategies are risky, but he says the real risk is not having financial education, financial literacy. Reading his book, I don't know that it necessarily changed my beliefs about what was possible for me at the time, but it planted some ideas in my brain, and it kind of laid the groundwork for what I've done later on. I could probably identify several things in my life where an idea that I encountered many years before planted a seed for something that I did later on, and this is definitely one of those books. I definitely saw that things could be. There were other possibilities besides just the 9 to 5, going to work, barely making enough to survive. In the board game, it's called the Rat Race. There are 2 courses that you start out with this really small part of the board game, and you're going around the rat race. You're earning paychecks. You're paying expenses. Occasionally, you have a chance to invest in assets, which are business opportunities, which for Robert Kiyosaki is mainly things like buying real estate, buying stocks. By learning the difference between a good deal and a bad deal, you can move ahead and earn passive income. And eventually you earn enough passive income that your passive income exceeds your monthly expenses. And then in the board game, it also teaches you about the budgeting process. And there's an online version where it takes care of that budgeting for you. But the first version I was playing was a board game where you had to keep track of all those expenses. Anyway, losing my train of thought here. So in the board game, after you acquire the passive income, then the game assumes that your income gets multiplied by 100. And then you move to an outer track, and now you're going around trying to land on the space where your dream is. So I learned the concept of having something you really want. Maybe it's a charity, maybe it's a business. The examples of dreams in that game are really amazing. And I know at one point I had a version of the board. There was a version of the board game that was an app on my phone. I'm not sure that there's still an app. I think it got discontinued. But anyway, it's still something where you can sign into a website and play the game. I like to do that to keep my remind myself of. I should say I liked to do that to remind myself of what was possible. But as I said, it planted the seeds of the idea to think about things differently, and that would result in a different outcome. And so when I started learning about mindset this month, not this month, this year, I should say, a couple of months ago, the seeds of that were already planted there because of Robert Kiyosaki and his book and his board game. And so that made it easier for me to accept it from another source. So I just want to say, this is a famous person who helped me out. Oh, we've never met. Anyway, this was a challenging topic for me, trying to pick somebody famous and talk about them. Talk about something I learned from them. I didn't want to just do another one about Bob Proctor. I thought that would be too easy. Maybe too unoriginal. I've already done several videos about Bob Proctor. My five live videos from last week were all about Bob Proctor. But I may talk about him in a future video again. But I just wanted to say that I probably wouldn't be following Bob Proctor if I hadn't started following Robert Kiyosaki first. And so I'm grateful to both of them. And after all, gratitude and having the desire, going for your dreams, that's what really matters. And I learned that from both of them. Okay. So that's my message for today. I'll see everyone around tomorrow. I'll be doing another video tomorrow. Okay. See you.